You're going into liquidation. You're an asshole for deal. Are you? You don't look like it. I did it for freedom of speech. I did it for Tommy. I did it for Donald Trump. The majority vote Trump. According to the BBC, is the minority. Only one opinion's allowed to go mainstream. It's disgusting.
Brock! There's no goddamn toilet roll left. Bring me that sellotape, will you, boy? My ding-a-ling's come unstuck. God damn it. I can see this thing going towards my door. Ooh, Tommy.
Sorry about that, people. Yeah, I don't want that to be happening again. So we're just going to move quickly to another room. Come. Oh. Sorry, wrong room. This is Melania's wardrobe. Well, this is where the magic happens. Just hope there's no more secret cameras in here. Right, nearly there, people. Sorry about that, people. I didn't mean for this to turn into an episode of Cribs. But yeah, it's a lot more peaceful in here. I really like it. I think Michelle's just Ubered up actually in here. Yeah, Barack Obama's on the streamer as well. You can hear him from the other room. So I thought we'd just come in here for today. Now, today's video is about transgender. Oh, sorry people, I get so carried away with it. It's just fantastic, isn't it? The music, how they do it, how they put it together, it's just so appealing. I just want to become trans, it's just so cool. And that's what they're doing, by the way, people. For our children in our society, they are making becoming trans, queer, drag, gay, bi, non-binary, two-spirit, all this made up stuff. They are making it the most appealing, coolest thing to be.
Yeah!
That's what they're doing. Now, we're going to start this conversation off with listening to an expert. It's actually quite a good place to start. So let's just listen to an expert on the subject.
Your ideology holds that people can be born into the wrong body. It's simply not true. Human sexuality is binary. Okay, we know this because in nature, reproduction is the rule. And human beings, we engage in sexual reproduction. You need a man and a woman to do that. Women are XX. Those are the sex chromosomes. Women have two X's. Men have an X and a Y. Those are genetic markers. They're genetic markers for female and male, respectively. Okay, binary, that's the rule, and it's self-evident. Transgender, someone who identifies as transgender, however, that's not a problem in their body. Gender identity, all identities, they're in our thoughts. Thoughts and feelings, those are not hardwired, they develop, and they may be factually wrong or factually correct. The definition of a delusion is a fixed false belief. So if I persistently, consistently insist that I am Margaret Thatcher, or persistently, consistently insist that I am a cat, or I'm an amputee trapped in a normal body, I am delusional. And in fact, there are people who believe they are amputees trapped in a normal body. They are appropriately diagnosed as having body identity integrity disorder. If you want to cut off an arm or a leg, you're mentally ill. But if you want to cut off healthy breasts and genitals, then you're transgender and you don't have a mental illness. Individuals with disorders of sex development are being used as pawns in the fight for basically a civil right to mental illness.
Oh, sorry. I am on tablets for that. Anyway, as you just heard from an expert, that it's an observable fact in the world, in the universe. This is not open for debate. You know, as a global community, there are things we all know 2 + 2 is 4. The whole globe agrees 2 + 2 is 4, no matter what language it's interpreted in. 2 + 2 is 4. There's certain things that we know. And if you listen to the way she speaks, she's not saying we think this. She's saying we know this because of X, Y, pun intended. But these are things that we know. Now, the whole fabric of our society, our moral fabric of our society, is being undone because of a select few. If someone is born and they are a man and they think they're a woman, but they've got a penis, they're then saying, well, women can have penises then, because I am a woman. And, you know, people in power, in charge of all this stuff, are going, yeah, all right, we will change the definition of what it is to be a woman just so you, like 0.0% of the global population, just so you can say, I am a woman. And it's now scientifically correct that even though you have a penis and balls, no vagina, no boobs, no womb, it's now scientifically a fact that you are a woman. We're just going to have to tell the billions and billions and billions of real women that the definition has changed. And I'm just going to point this out in this next clip. Now just watch this clip and just listen to the hypocrisy here.
One doesn't mean the other. Like, me having a penis does not make me a man, or does not make me less of a woman.
Well, I'm just going to stop it there quickly because a claim has just been made. She's just made a claim. So she's just said that having a penis doesn't make me a man, and it makes me no less of a woman. No less of a woman. So there's a claim there that he is a woman. Then, you know, they're not saying I feel like a woman, I'm a man and I feel like a woman. That's not what they're saying. And the scientists and our leaders and the LGBT community are all putting pressure on these scientists, supposedly. I don't really believe that. I believe that the people in charge of this, you know, putting neutral toilets in schools, are just doing what they want. It's their agenda, and they're using the LGBT community as pawns. So it appears that, we're doing what the LGBT community want. No, these are evil, powerful paedophiles at work that are destroying the nation states. That's their plan, and the LGBT community only exist, again, to create the facade that some people want this. We don't. But anyway, there's just been a claim made that I have a penis, but I am a woman. It makes me no less of a woman. Continue.
Obviously, I don't think this will ever, go away fully, but as I was, coming out, I would, have times where I was like, God, I wish I wasn't like this. I wish I wasn't trans because then like my life would be easier. I wish I was born a woman, or I wish that I was just like comfortable being male. And then I realized that like if I was born a female, like I wouldn't be a part of the LGBTQ community. I wouldn't have gone through the struggles that I have gone through, and like I would be a completely different person. And I love who I am, and so I don't think I would want to change that. And I'm proud to be trans.
Right, so now she's just said that I wish I'd been born a woman. Things would have been easier if I had been born a woman. So that's admitting that you're not a woman. So she admits, or he admits, I'm not a woman. I wasn't born a woman. So why then is the definition of what it is to be a woman, why is that changing? When the people that our governments and scientists are supposedly listening to are full of hypocrisy. That's hypocrisy at its clearest. At the beginning you say, I have a penis, that makes me no less of a woman. And then later on you say, I wasn't born a woman. That's hypocrisy at its clearest. So why is the definition of what it is to be a woman, why is that changing when these people admit that they're not born a woman? And now you can Google, you can type into Google, men can space. Men can. For those of you that haven't seen this or haven't tried this, I've done it. As soon as I saw it, I thought, no way. Get Google now and just type in the word men can space. So Google knows that's what you've typed. And it comes up. Men can get pregnant. Men can have periods. Men can have babies. Men can think nothing. I don't know why that's included. It's just a complete attack on men. But that's Google. And these are not previous search results, by the way, as some people may think. This is Google's agenda. This is Google pushing this narrative. As soon as you type in men can, not men can build a bridge. Men can build a wall. Go on, chum. Men can have sex with a woman. Men can impregnate a woman. No, it's men can get pregnant. So we're changing the definitions of what it is to be a man. Because supposedly, again, we're listening to these people who are quite clearly confused. I'm not a woman, I've got a penis. I wish I had been born a woman. Right. Definition next to woman, can have penis. Anyway, next clip.
It's just so hard. It's so hard because like being told like women have this and women look like this and women, and it's like, then I don't look like that. So I must hate my body then because my body is what keeps me from looking like a woman. But then I like get out of that like toxic mindset and I'm just like, wait. I am a woman.
So you are a woman now. You just admitted that you weren't born a woman. If I was born a woman, it would have been easier. So you admit you're not a woman. And then again, hang on a minute, I am a woman. No, if you admit at the beginning of your sentence that you wasn't born a woman, you haven't been reborn, have you? Have you been reincarnated? Right, so you admit at the beginning of your sentence that you wasn't born a woman. So at the end of the sentence, you can't therefore say, I am a woman. No, what you can say is, I feel like a woman. I identify as a woman. And all the scientists in the world can calm down, sit back in their chairs, and everything can carry on as normal. Because that's okay. It's in your mind. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, I'm going to finish on, not the video, but I'm just going to finish with these clips from this event that they had, with the most dangerous part of it, as far as I'm concerned. Roll the clip.
Children are capable of understanding their gender identity. 3, 2, 1, go.
So there you have it. These transgender people believe that children can fully understand their gender identity. Fully understand their gender identity. I mean, kids don't fully understand anything as far as I'm concerned. My girlfriend has a 5-year-old boy. He has a penis. He's a boy. And I tell him that I go to the moon, and he believes me. I tell him that my granddad lives on Mars, and he believes me. I have a little van here. I have it here. One I made earlier. Little Scooby-Doo van. And I make chocolate appear into it. Although that's what he thinks. But I do some magic words. And chocolate appears in this van. He comes up to me with a van. Can you make some chocolate appear? And I do my magic words. Make some chocolate appear if you can. Give me some sweets in this van. The magic words have to rhyme, by the way. Shout out to all the dad wizards out there. It's pretty cool. Brainwashing your kids to think that you're a wizard. I love it. But kids don't understand anything. He's 5 years old. He's tiny. But also, just to point out that to say that kids can fully understand their gender identity, it flies in the face of what we already believe as a society. And that is, a child is not old enough to give consent to have sex because they're a child. So if I was to have sex with a 15-year-old or a 12-year-old, and they have said, yes, Davey Trump, have sex with me, I will be done for rape, and quite rightly so. We all agree, we all want the age of sexual consent to be 16. We don't want that to change, people, which is another prediction of mine. It's gonna come down, believe you me, if we don't start standing up to this evil crap. Anyway, it flies in the face of that because in the eyes of the law, I would be done for rape because the judge would say that even though they said yes, they're a child. They're not old enough to understand. So how come in that scenario, the child is not old enough to understand, yet when it comes to their own sexual identity, they are old enough to understand? And if an 8-year-old or a 14-year-old, as you're going to see in a minute in Canada, says that I am a boy, suddenly the government says, yes, you are old enough to make this massive decision. You are old enough. And if the parents intervene, they're going to get done for family violence.
Can you tell me what brings you and the PPC to the rally today?
We are very troubled by the loss of our rights, the loss of our freedoms in Canada. This incredible father, we'll call him Clark. I like to call him Clark Kent. He's standing for his daughter. She's 14. She's within 1 month of being completely sterile because a court has ordered that she can take cross-sex hormones without parental consent. We don't think this is right. Also, the father has been told that if he speaks about this privately or publicly, that he is under threat of arrest without warrant. And so what we feel is that it's time for Canada to stand for the rights of all of us.
Can you tell me what brings you to the rally here?
Sorry, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Could you explain again?
That's easy enough time.
Sorry, could you explain again?
Could you tell me what brings you to the rally?
Harry, sorry, I don't understand. I'm really confused.
I know it's hard to understand basic questions.
Confused.
What brings you to the rally?
Huh?
What brings you to the rally? Do you think it's actually family violence to misgender someone?
Well, there you have it. I mean, rarely in my life do I want to run up, punch a woman straight in the face. But as I watched that, the rage I felt towards these people, towards her especially as an individual, holding up a stupid sign that said something like, I told you so, fascists will lose. And then when asked, why are you here today? Pardon? I'm so confused. Pardon? I'm so confused. Like literally like it's a joke. There's a dad in the court behind you, fighting for the right for the government to stop giving his 14-year-old daughter drugs that in 1 month are going to leave her permanently sterile. This is so serious. And I'll show you a couple of more clips. But people, when we talk about the Muslims outside the Birmingham school, we should all go and join them. We should all go and stand with them. We have to all accept that Muslims are part of Britain now. The future of this country, no one wants it to be all Muslims. No one wants it to turn into Islamic State. But we all have to accept and try and build bridges with the Muslim community that are here. We should all go and stand with them. I'm very tempted. I've spoke to certain people about going to join them because the news wants to push the narrative that this is somehow a clash between religion and progressivism. But it's not, people. It's normal, moral people that don't want the schools to have this authority. The governments, look where it leads. Open our eyes. We can't think, oh, it's age appropriate. It's just about 2 male penguins that find an egg. This is at 5 years old. We shouldn't, it's the principle, the kids belong to us. It doesn't matter that it sounds, it sounds so innocent. Because what happened next, and I predicted it, it's happened already now, but I predicted it, and I said that if we allow the schools to teach this crap to our kids, then kids are going to start getting sent home for being homophobic, for saying something homophobic. A 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, your child was homophobic. And I called it, and now it's happening. Kids are getting sent home for homophobic remarks. Because once we allow our schools to start teaching this to our children, then that's it, people. There's no way back. You are giving the authority to the government and to the school board. And you are giving up your rights as a parent to have any say. And look where it leads. This is Canada. This is not some mad country, mad state in Africa run by a voodoo doctor. This is Canada. And they have taken the rights away from parents. They're going to give children drugs to transition when the parents are saying no. So again, these Muslims that are stood outside this school in Birmingham, I commend them. I commend them completely. And I've listened to them. Careful. They are concerned parents. And another thing I want the Muslims to understand, when you think that people on the right, as I'm put for some weird reason, but us people on the right, Tommy Robinson supporters and everyone on the right, to the Muslim community out there, you think that we're driven by hate and everything like this, but what you need to understand is one of the main things we're fighting for is, one, we don't want to give all the power to the government. Why would we want the government to police our language and have the power of hate speech over us when they can define what hate is? We don't want hate speech laws for certain, but we want free speech. And now all the Muslims out there, really concentrate on your fellow Muslims outside this Birmingham school, because they are now a victim of it. Because all they are doing is fighting for the rights of their children. We all understand that very important principle that the children belong to us. They're our kids. You teach them maths and English and we'll do the rest. I'll teach my kid about gays and trans when I want to, if at all. They're my children. This is socialism. It's brainwashing. It's group thought. It's getting them at a very early age. And getting them all to think the same thing. And if you think different, that's a homophobic view. Get out the class. Like that lad in Scotland who was sent outside the class because he said there's only 2 genders. This is Scotland. And he was sent outside the class because he said there's only 2 genders. And the teacher had a go at him for it. and said, this is school policy now. There's no way back, people, once we allow this to happen, once we give this power to the schools. Anyway, back to the Muslim community. My message to the Muslims out there, concentrate on what's happening outside that school in Birmingham, because all they're doing, as I said, is fighting for the rights to have their parental rights, okay? But they're scared of being called homophobic. Really think about that, because it's free speech that the Muslims are expressing outside this school. It's free speech. They want to be able to express themselves on how they feel about this certain subject. But what's happening? They potentially could be arrested for hate speech. They could be labelled homophobic. So hopefully the Muslims can start to understand that where we are coming from on the right, that we want to be able to talk about Islam, for example, without being called Islamophobic. We want to be able to talk about this gays, trans and stuff without being called homophobic. It's exactly the same thing. We're not driven by hate. We want to be able to talk about Islam as we do about any other idea. That's the point. We're not obsessed with Islam. But any person should be able to talk. That's what free speech is about. Now I'm going to repeat that for you, because I want the Muslims to understand that we are fighting for free speech. We should be allowed to express ourselves without the fear of getting a label. And that's what's happening outside the Birmingham school. They risk being labelled homophobic. They're holding up signs. We're not homophobic. You now have to be scared just because you're standing up for your kids' rights. And it's the same as all us on the right. We want to be able to just debate and talk about Islam. We want to be able to say, I don't like Islam. We want to be able to say, Muhammad had sex with a child. I'm really against that. We should be able to say what we think without the label Islamophobic. But what's happening? Muslim people don't understand this, and Muslim people are fighting in court for a definition of the word Islamophobic. You're giving the government the power to police our language, and although it might help you today, it's not helping you outside the Birmingham school, is it? What needs to happen in this country is all of us, all the normal people, all the normal white people, black people, all the normal Muslims, all of us need to tell this government, I nearly swore there, David Trump doesn't swear, but we need to tell the government to back off and stop policing our language. And then we will be left with an arena that all ideas can be spoke about. And if a stupid idea is put into the public domain, it won't be long before it's exposed as a stupid idea. If you're allowed to talk about anything, if you talk about if it's a racist idea and it's out there, it's on public platforms, it won't be long for it to be exposed as a racist idea or as a stupid idea. But if we can't talk people, then the government can do basically what they want. And like I said, this video, I've already pointed out where this is leading. And it's going to get a lot worse unless we stand up together and fight the government. There's very evil, powerful people at work here. Very evil, powerful people. And again, in my opinion, this comes down to wanting to destroy the nation state. They want to destroy our culture. This is culture. Teaching, gender fluidity, which is a lie. It's a lie, as has been pointed out by scientists and geneticists. Gender fluidity is a lie, but that's what they're teaching our children. They're lying to our children. This is changing our culture. And we all need to wake up and stand against this at the earliest opportunity. Which reminds me of that saying, it's better to fight in the first trench than in the last trench.
Family violence to misgender someone.
That's a tough question. If the person you are addressing has identified their own gender, and you refuse to acknowledge it, then it's a form of violence.
Thank you so much for joining us live now from New York. Very good to see you all.
Thanks for having us.
Great to see you. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to talk, Mum and Dad, if it's okay, to the star of the show, first of all, who's seated there in the middle. Rebecca, tell me about when you first thought, maybe I'm not meant to be Ben and I should be Rebecca. Were you aware of one particular time, or did you always just feel like that?
I always felt different, and I never liked fitting in one box or the other box. But it was about when I was 8 when I learned what the word transgender meant, and I started saying that I was transgender.
Well, Mum and Dad, the thing about you is you have been incredibly supportive for all of this. It wouldn't have been a situation you would have chosen. How did you deal with it?
Rebecca had always been what they call gender non-conforming. She gravitated to, girly things. She fit in more with the girls, and we didn't think that meant she was a girl. That was not our original line of thinking. But as she got older and began to articulate who she was and distress around being identified as a boy, we really just saw no other choice than to listen to our child and support her. The statistics are pretty grim for trans kids who are not supported and living in their identity, and we didn't want that for our child.
But it must be difficult.
I mean, it was...
Yeah, Christopher, go on. I was going to say, it must have been difficult for you as a family to come to terms with this.
It wasn't that hard, because when we met doctors and the folks who, were kind of helping us understand what was going on, they were pretty clear that being transgender, even at 8, was a perfectly legitimate thing, and something that if you wanted to support your kid, you wanted to learn about and accept.
And Rebecca, from your point of view, how did your friends react? Because obviously for you, it felt like a really natural thing. But what about your friends? How did they feel when you suddenly came in and said, actually, I don't know if it was a sudden thing, perhaps it was a gradual process, but when you suddenly said, right, I'm Rebecca now, I'm not Ben anymore?
Well, I was homeschooling the year I transitioned, so I didn't have to deal with many school problems. But once I told my very close friends at school, they didn't believe me. But once my mom helped talk to their parents, they were fine with it, and they said, cool, whatever. You're still my friend.
Well, that actually brings me into the next subject, which is sport. And the reason why that bridge is over is because I did wonder for a time, why are they targeting children? Why do they want to give children transgender drugs before they hit puberty? I did think, well, why are they doing it? And then I think this is the reason. And the reason is because in sport, if I transitioned, for example, today with my male frame and I started taking estrogen and said, I'm a woman, and I started fighting women in the ring, believe me, I'd do quite well in that arena because I've already been through puberty. But if they target a boy before he hits puberty and they start giving him estrogen, then his body won't go through the male puberty phase and the growth spurt. So he will look and appear more like a woman. So then it could be more fair in sport. And I think that's one of the reasons they're targeting children, apart from the paedophile aspect to it. It's a paedophile's dream, isn't it? That, a boy thinks he's a girl. It's a paedophilic paradise. But like I said, if a boy goes through puberty, then it's too late then. He will be, he'll have big hands and...
Yeah.
What?
You shot me.
No, I didn't.
I thought you said big hands.
Yeah, I'm doing a video. I didn't know... Do you answer to the name as Big Hands?
Well, I do.
Oh, I didn't know that was Barack's nickname for you, Michael? Michelle.
Right.
Sorry,
It's
Michelle. Michelle, calm down.
It's Michelle, God
Calm
damn
down,
it.
my sweet. Sorry, Michelle. Michelle, look, I'm trying to do a video.
I don't care.
I'm trying to do a video. All right,
Just call me Michael.
just go out and let me just continue this video. Calm down. I'm sorry, okay? Right. Right. Barack Obama obviously calls her big hands. I didn't realise that was bloody shaking. She's huge. Hands are massive. Anyway, I think that might be the reason. Anyway, let's just roll this next clip about this poor girl. I mean, I really feel sorry for her. Roll the clip.
Connecticut junior Selena Soule won't be competing in the 55-meter dash. She was edged out of the top 6 spots in part by 2 transgender runners.
Go Selena! Go Selena! Come on, you gotta go! Go Selena, come on!
Yes, I have. I have been labeled as transphobic, and I have been labeled as a sore loser, and that I should just try harder and train faster. And I do that, but there's no way I can be physically competitive with someone who is a male. At the Connecticut State Open meet in the indoor season, I was participating in the 55-meter race. You had to qualify from your class meet in, and I qualified in 8th place. And in the preliminary round, I ran close to my personal best, only 100th of a second off of my best. And I came in 8th place, and top 7 qualified for the final, and the top 6 advanced to the New England regional meet. And because there were 2 transgender athletes, that bumped me down to 8th place. And if they weren't there, then I would have been the 6th girl. I would have been ensured a spot in the finals, and I could have gained a higher placement and qualified for the New England meet. It's extremely intimidating and frustrating being forced to compete against someone who's biologically a male. It's scientifically proven that they are bigger and stronger than women, as they have more muscle mass and they have bigger organs. And it's just not a fair contest having a woman compete against a man, because no matter how hard she tries and how much work she puts in practice, the male will always beat her.
Well, there you have it, people. Real people being affected by this. It's not nice, it's not fair. As she points out, that women will never be able to fairly compete against a transgender male. And she also points out, this brave girl, that it also goes against science yet again. But the left and the LGBT community, and most worryingly, our governments no longer care about science, and being correct in 2019 means absolutely nothing. And in our next Olympics, they're going to be allowing transgender men to compete against our women. You won't see many transitional women that are transitioned into a man. You won't see many of them competing against the men, because it doesn't benefit them. But you will see men that have transitioned into women competing against women. So look forward to the next Olympics. It'll be fantastic. And now a prediction of mine when we talk about the combat sports is that a woman is going to die. This is a very good prediction. I might go to the betting office and put some money on it, because men have killed men in the ring before. That's happened. Men have given other men brain damage in the ring before. So to think that a transgender man isn't going to kill a woman, believe me, this is going to happen. It's literally round the corner. And I'd love to see the people that have made the decision to allow transgender men to fight ladies. I'd love to see them defend it once we are stood over a dead woman. Now, this girl that's talking in that video, and the man, the father outside the Canadian court, they are called, you know, brave, and rightly so. They're called brave, and she refers to him outside the court as Kent, Clark Kent. You know, he's a superhero, just for standing up for his daughter, as most of us would do. But there's a reason why we call these people brave, and that's because just by speaking out, they will be inundated with so much hatred from the left and from the LGBT community. They will be inundated with so much abuse from these people that are supposedly leading the way for all of us and teaching us how to be more acceptant. But yeah, so they are extremely brave people. Now, this video could have been a lot longer. It literally could have been about 19 hours long because there's so much happening to do with this all over the Western world. It's so worrying. I was going to touch on the drag queen story hour in America because there were snipers on the roof protecting Drag Queen Story Hour, where drag queens are reading stories to 5-year-olds about a prince falls in love with a prince. And there was a protest outside of, loads of parents. And again, the media tried to paint the picture that they're all Christians. So again, that this is a clash between religion and progressivism. When again, it's not. It's just normal, moral parents. Now, one more thing before I go. Charlize Theron, a very beautiful woman. I used to hold her on a pedestal for many years because she's such a beautiful specimen of a female. Now I can barely look at her face and I just see evil when I look at her because she adopted 2 African children from Africa, and she has a girl and a boy, but the boy turned round to her when he was three, and said, I am a girl. So now she's bringing him up as a girl. She now says, I have 2 beautiful girls. So again, the black community, I can't hear you on this one. Can you please come and join us in our fight to win our country back and win logic back and science and all these other wonderful things? Can we all come together and start fighting together, please? Now, for anybody out there that thinks things can't get any worse than our governments, very powerful governments, forcing drugs onto children and turning them into transgenders, despite the parents' protests. If you think things can't get any worse than that, I'm afraid to tell you that things can actually get worse than that, because there is more vulnerable people than children. People like Down syndromes. Now they're not escaping this evilness. Just take a look at a couple of these pictures, will you? Finished. Oh, thank God for that. Right, people. Well, just like He-Man, I'm going to finish on a positive message. And after watching those pictures, I bet you're gasping for Davey Trump's positive message. Now, my positive message this week is alpha and beta. For any parent out there whose child may come home and say, you know, a boy, most likely, this is going to be the trend, people. It's going to be boys more than girls, which is what they're trying to do. But if your little boy comes home and says, I feel like a girl, or I want to be transgender, then please teach them about alpha and beta. Because our kids are not being taught about alpha and beta. And alpha and beta is a real thing. It's a proven fact, again, in the universe. You only have to go as far as the animal kingdom, the chimpanzees, for example, those of which we evolved from. which is why, incidentally, that a human being under a microscope has exactly the same amount of hair follicles as a chimpanzee, which proves that we were once very hairy, which again by default proves that God did not make us in his image, unless God was really hairy like an ape. Anyway, in the animal kingdom, you can see amongst, a group of monkeys that there will be an alpha, maybe a couple of alphas, but there will be one main alpha, and he has his harem, and the rest of the males will be beta. And there might be another alpha, like I said, who might compete every now and then to take over. But that being said, in whole, it's usually just a couple of alphas and the betas. Now, if a young boy is in the classroom and he's a bit submissive and a bit quiet, not as confident as some of the other lads, in 2019, because it's all he's been taught, he may start thinking, maybe I'm a girl, maybe I'm gay, maybe I'm queer, maybe I'm bi, there's something different about me. Because he's not being taught about alpha and beta. And if they were, then he could think, well, I'm just a beta male. Yes, I'm not as confident as Big John over there, and I'm not as loud as him. Maybe not as confident with the women as him, or with the young girls at school. And so if your child comes back confused, please teach them, because at the moment this is the only thing we have to combat with until we get rid completely of this evilness and stop them teaching this crap to our children. But until that happens, then we have to learn some tools to combat it. And again, teach our kids alpha and beta. And instead of realizing or coming to the thought that they're queer, gay, trans, two-spirit, non-binary, and all this made-up evil stuff, maybe they can just come to the conclusion that I'm just a beta male, but I will stay the same. I will not chop my penis off. Now, I hope that helps some parents out there who may now or in the future be facing this with your children. Now, that ends my video on transgender. I hope you've enjoyed it, and same as last time, if you've enjoyed it, please share the video. That's all I ask, especially on Facebook, because I'm banned on Facebook, so I like my face to be floating around there. But any platform you would like, any group, but please try and share the video. Now, thank you very much. Till next time, Davey Trump signing off. Now, I'm going to hit the streets. What's Michael in back room with them lights? What they do? I've just seen him round there. What they doing with them lights? It's like having two kids. I don't know what they're doing anymore. Oh, he's done it again with his bloody LGBT lights. Barack! You've done it again with his bloody LGBT lights. Get them off. Where's Michael? I mean Michelle. Where is he? I mean she.